Hi, class. This will be my very last video before the midterm. And it's not really a necessary video, but I really just want to make sure that you are well equipped for tomorrow's midterm. And so what I've prepared is a PowerPoint presentation, just a few slides that narrows down for you what you need to study for the midterm so that you can be well equipped for that endeavor. So here is my very quick midterm review that just will help you narrow down what you need to know for tomorrow. First of all, I'm sure you want to know about the format. How's the midterm going to be formatted? As you know, based on your syllabus, the midterm is 200 possible points. 30 of those are going to be multiple choice questions worth 4 points each. In addition to that, there are going to be 8 short answer questions. Those 8 short answer questions are going to be worth 10 points each. And if I've done my math properly, that is a total of 200 points. And you will have a 3-hour time limit to complete that exam. 3 hours. So, what do you need to know? Start off, you need to know important legal precedent. We all know that critical race theory is a legal framework. You know that a lot of the founders of critical race theory have a legal background. So the foundations of it are based in legal precedent. So it's going to be super important that you know that for the midterm. Know when these cases were litigated, know how they relate to one another, and most importantly, know how they connect to these broader tenets and these broader ideas within the realm of critical race studies. So Dred Scott versus Sanford, know about that, know about the doctrine of white supremacy, know the facts of the case. Plessy versus Ferguson, know about the separate but equal doctrine, know about specifics about Homer Plessy himself and what makes that case, what made that case interesting to litigate, and how it illustrated certain concepts within critical race theory. Know about Mendez versus Westminster, and the foundational school desegregation work that came before Brown versus Board of Education, and know why those 2 cases were important and the critical race theory concepts that are illustrated within them. Know Hernandez versus Texas, how that relates to this idea of differential racialization. Know how the definition of somebody's race could change over time, depending upon the needs of the dominant group. So know differential racialization, know about material determinism and interest convergence. And of course, we've got to know about Derrick Bell, Brown versus Board of Education. Again, know when all of these cases were litigated, why they were important. Moreover, you're going to need to know about that foundational document, the United States Constitution. You have to know how that document plays into systemic, institutional, and structural racism, and specifically know about the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment and what they hold, what they solidified, at least into de jure law, even if it's not de facto. You got to know these important people. Derrick Bell, of course, and specifically you got to know Derrick Bell and how he became so disillusioned and so fired up after the Brown versus Board of Education ruling, and know why, and know about this concept of interest convergence. Know about Mari Matsuda and Asian American Studies, Kimberly Crenshaw and intersectionality, Alan Freeman's work on whiteness and the law, and Richard Delgado with Latino critical theory. So look at those and know those, and go back and watch the lectures if you have any questions. Finally, you need to know some key terms in critical race theory. You have to know these terms, and you have to not just know what they mean, class, but you need to be able to apply them either to a real world scenario or to some of the previous court cases we have talked about. So keep that in mind. You need to know about race as a social construction. You need to know about the myth of color blindness. specifically how that relates to the empathetic fallacy and why those two ideas are highly problematic and what are the criticisms of those ideas. You need to know about the black-white binary. If you didn't read chapter 5 on power in Delgado, you need to go back and look at that, the idea of the black-white binary and how that reinforces white supremacy and how that gives more power to those who are designated as white. And speaking of that, we need to talk about unique or authentic voice, know what that is, and be able to explain why it is important that we in critical race theory privilege the voices of people of color, of Black people, when it comes to anti-Black racism, of Latinos when it comes to racism against Latinos, of women when it comes to women and gender studies. Why do we privilege those voices in that arena? Why can't someone who's not a part of that marginalized group do as good a job as someone who is in the marginalized group at discussing those issues? And you might say it's common sense, but if you think that, you have to look to the sheer number of times that the voices of the people in the marginalized group get dismissed regularly and on a daily basis. Know about power and its sources. From where is power derived? What are the sources? Where do we get power? We talked about 6 sources, I think, of wealth. I won't list them all, of power. I won't list them all, but wealth is definitely one of them. Physical force, state action. So go back and look at those, and then look at the laws of power. Look at the laws of power, the fact that power is always moving. It's never static. You're either losing power or you're gaining power. And then the other 2 laws of power about how power compounds upon itself. So just study those ideas about power. Go back and look at the lecture on power. It's a short one, and you'll need to know those things. Racial idealism versus racial realism. What does that mean? How do they relate to the myth of colorblindness? How do they relate to material determinism and interest convergence? Know that. Again, we mentioned it earlier, but differential racialization. What does the concept mean? How is it applied? How has it been applied in history? And specifically, what court cases that we have studied illustrate the idea? Same thing with interest convergence and material determinism. Know about the ordinariness of racism. Understand what we mean when we say that racism is ordinary. Understand what we mean when we talk about institutional and systemic racism, that how racism is so deeply woven into the fabric of our society. Know about intersectionality. Again, know about Kimberly Crenshaw. Know about the fact that we are not just uncomplicated people. We have complex identities, and how those different areas intersect with one another. And then finally, know the myths of critical race theory. People will say critical race theory means this, critical race theory means that. This K through 12 teacher was teaching critical race theory. Familiarize yourself. That's in earlier lectures, but familiarize yourself with the myths of critical race theory and why those myths are untrue. So there's still time to reach out. If you have any questions, email me, message me on Blackboard. I am available. Enjoy your studying. Happy studying. And if you need anything, I'm here. Best of luck on the midterm tomorrow.